Georgian, who turned down President Trump's offer to become chief of staff, is planning instead to return home here to our state. Nick Ayers has spent the last 2 years as Vice President Pence's chief of staff, but instead of moving to the West Wing, he plans to come back here. 11 Alive's Doug Richards has been acquainted with Nick Ayers for years and joins us with more on this Cobb County grad.
Well, we've seen him around certainly for a long time. When now Congresswoman Karen Handel ran her first Fulton County election campaign in 2003, Nick Ayers was the young political operative helping her. And that's when he and I first spoke. We spoke again earlier this year at a Mike Pence event in Buckhead.
What we do know is wherever he has gone, he has won.
Here's Nick Ayers with Vice President Pence. And here's Ayers with Pence, Ayers' wife Jamie, and their 6-year-old triplets. Ayers has had his hands full and turned away the chance to get them even fuller by declining to become the president's chief of staff.
When you become chief of staff, in many ways, you sacrifice your family.
Brian Robinson says Ayers couldn't make the 2-year commitment Donald Trump wanted.
What doesn't surprise me is over the last 2 years, every time that I've talked to Nick, it is often said, I miss Georgia, and my wife misses Georgia.
Ayers got his start in 2002, helping Sonny Perdue with his upset win in the governor's race. Ayers has disclosed that he's made millions since then as a political consultant. And Robinson thinks Ayers will find plenty of political work in Georgia. Senator David Perdue faces re-election in 2020. Senator Johnny Isakson's term ends 2 years later, as will that of soon-to-be Governor Brian Kemp.
Nick is getting to come home, but Nick is not leaving the Trump orbit. He's still going to be running the Trump super PAC going into the 2020 election, which will be hard-fought, no doubt about it.
And if he prints a resume, Nick Ayers can put an unusual entry on it. I turned down the job of White House Chief of Staff. Not many people can say that, Jeff.
Doug, your interpretation of this is what? Do you think that Ayers simply does not want to be a part of the chaos of what has been the White House, that you don't want that on your resume at this point?
I think that's a real good guess, and he's got lots of other options that probably sound a lot more attractive to a young dad.